Here we are. And ladies and gents, I'm going to repeat everything I just said on the live stream because that's what we do for YouTube. We got final series in the group stage for Sebastian and Dragonstar. And as it stands, Sebastian cannot get first. Leary is already in first place spot, but still $40 per win. And then Dragonstar needs one victory to guarantee his safety. Now, if he gets swept, the Margugu Doubt series that will come after this gets a little bit more interesting because Margugu could actually survive with the 3-0 over Doubts. So here we are on another evacuation game, Orlu.
Another day, another evacuation game. Don't get too excited now. I mean, it's just your tournament and everything.
Well, I thought that this map was going to be banned so much. I was like, there's no way that people are going to pick this map. They're going to pick every other map. And I've been wrong. This map has been played way more than I expected. So it seems like everyone is comfortable enough on the map to pick it, but thinks the map is difficult enough where they can get a lead over their opponent.
Well, and I think it's just how different the map plays. And I mean, I'm curious as to how you think about this, T90, but in my mind, back in Hidden Cup, this map was like wild. It ended up going late very often, a lot of fighting over the land, and just sort of having to split your attention between land, water, and land 2.
Yeah.
This go around in TTL, it just plays like another aggressive hybrid map. It's like, another Cross, another Acropolis. Obviously, that there are nuances with all those maps, but it still feels like very similar in the sorts of civs we see.
Well, I mean, in Hidden Cup, what I would do is I'd create the maps. I'd release them 10 days in advance, and everyone would practice behind the scenes. So, like, they wouldn't know what other people were doing. Now, it's been in events. People can watch it. People can see, oh, okay, Hera did that, or Leary did that. Let me try that too. So, I think with any map, if you release it and it's brand new, and there's hidden practice behind the scenes, it definitely adds a lot of value. I do think there's one change that could be made. Well, a couple changes that could be made that could mix it up. Now, I think the map's great as is. So I'm of the feeling of if it isn't broke, don't fix it. But if we were to have the right side of this island here be unwallable, so add some marsh terrain of 2 tiles, let's say. So people would have to dock block it to stop units from coming through instead of just palisade walling to the shoreline. I think it would make it like twice as difficult to play.
So you think that the map is, if anything, too passive early on?
No, I don't. That's why I probably won't change it because it's so difficult. But in the spirit of making it more difficult for players, the thing to do would actually be remove the full wall aspect. But
okay.
Maps, there are some maps, I'm not going to name names, that are literally exist just to be as annoying as possible for players, and I don't want evacuation or any of these maps to be that. So,
yes,
I'm happy with it.
As somebody who's hosted tournaments with maps designed to make players suffer, I can understand not wanting to do that.
So, Dragonstar has played really well on this map. He beat Yo on this map, and I think he beat Doubt on this map as well. So he has gotten many of his wins on evacuation. Sebastian has beaten everybody except for Leary, though. So, like, Sebastian wins in every setting. But I think these are 2 top 5 picks. I think Armenians are great because of the mule carts in the Navy and the overall solid eco. Dravidians, just the additional wood, the great Navy, the great infantry archer feels very comfortable here.
Yeah, I mean, they're just 2 solid civs on any sort of hybrid or water map, and of course, evacuation in this context is going to be no exception. I do think it's interesting that Sebastian is going with a pretty forward dock, and we've seen this with, like, Japanese and Persians, who are going to be, like, the most aggressive of the hybrid civs. This feels like it's a bit odd, or at least more odd, as Armenians typically want to sit back and get those galley numbers rolling.
Yeah, I wonder if that means that he will play fires instead of galleys, or maybe the issue for in his mind is it takes too long for the galleys to get to the opponent's fish. So we'll see. I think other players have done that. I saw Sato do that. I think I saw Hart do this. I think I saw Margugu do this. So there must be some chatter about this. It's definitely not random that over the last 2 weeks, multiple players have been doing this.
Yeah, I'm sure it's one of those things that like crops up in like practice between two players, and then that player practices with someone else, and they
Yeah.
talk with their friends, and then it sort of goes through the grapevine as far as that goes.
Yep.
But as we can see here, Dragonstar's already sending Vills out, and I did want to say before things got too heated here, I feel like he does well on this map because Dragonstar feels like more than most players just thrives in chaos.
Yes. Well, he's not. He's very far in Dragonstar. I say this with all the love in the world, buddy, but he's a reminder that you can play at a very high level without perfect micro each and every time, right? And so for those that just watch Leary's like, he'll make the minimum amount of military units, he'll get the maximum amount of value, and then he'll outboom you, and you die, right? Well, that's not normal Age of Empires. You can't do that. And so what feels like, classic normal AoE 2 is kind of Dragonstar. Good strategy. The micro won't be good, so you just got to prepare to make more army, right? And sneak a building here and sneak a building there. So yeah, perfect map for him. Not trying to diss him or anything, but I think it's actually very good for the game that he'll be platinum again the next season and that all of his preparation paid off up to this point.
Well, it's just fun, right? Watching Dragonstar play is fun, whereas we saw in the last series, watching Leary play can be extremely impressive, although I think not necessarily very exciting.
Oh, man. Are you kidding me? There is not a single villager underneath Dragonstar's TC because he's going for the hybrid build, which is heavy wood and heavy gold.
Yep.
And 5 cows are going to be heisted for nothing here. Yikes, Dragonstar.
Oh, that is very awkward. You need to have at least a Vill over there. Now, there is a Spearman coming in, so that can potentially shoo away the scouts, and the cows are a little bit slower even than regular sheep are. But obviously, this is not where you want to be. The longer you can delay farming on any sort of hybrid map, the better it is. And now Dragonstar coming back with his scouts, so it looks like he'll be able to send Bessie on home.
Yeah.
But getting housed in the process, yikes.
Well, you can see the messiness kind of playing its role already. Had to work a little bit harder to get the cows back, then gets housed, and now the galleys are already on top of him. And so, you're right, though, Ornlu. Like, typically, if you're galleys, you want the distance. But Sebastian has done the opposite. He wants to be right next to the opponent's fish, and the Armenian galleys are so strong. The fire has really been no threat, and the fishing ships for Dragonstar are probably going to go down.
Yeah, that is going to be pretty tough. Of course, the theoretical downside to this is that Sebastian is slower in getting his land military going, but he already has his archery range down.
Yeah.
He's already getting his archers going. He doesn't have fletching yet, but that probably won't be an issue if Dragonstar still has to get all the way across the map.
Yep. Now, Scout did go down for Sebastian, so he doesn't have a way to see what's happening from Dragonstar. Now, you should understand that 1 Dock Galleys is the play because he's only seen that, and that it should mean the range is up a little bit faster. And so he's doing his best to wall up here before those archers might come through. I like this from Dragonstar. Just commit to every kill you can get. But he's not going to get it, is he? That's beautiful play there from Sebastian.
Oh,
well, hold on. Archers are there.
Would have gotten the kill, but the archers are coming in. Right when you think you've escaped the jaws of death, just get chomped.
Yeah, would you rather die to a spearman, a scout, or archers? That's what happened there. So the archers are through the walls. Dragonstar will lose his fish eventually, but he's also done a really nice job to keep Sebastian working. I think that's the most important thing against the galley opening. As long as you just keep producing fires, it's really difficult for the galley player to be perfect all the time. And you combine that with the 2 archers that are in the back that Sebastian doesn't see now. I actually really like Dragonstar's position at the moment.
Yeah, and of course, the one thing that you really get a lot faster when you go for only a single dock opening is fletching.
Yeah.
And 2 archers with fletching, obviously, just so much scarier than 2 archers without that upgrade. And although the Armenian galleys are extra annoying against the fire galleys, it's just 1 extra damage. That said, they're still going to get whittled down eventually. And Dragonstar, like we've been saying, is just making things a mess.
Yeah, now the thing I'm wondering is, will there ever be a counterattack for Sebastian? These archers have done an amazing job. Sebastian will probably send some army. But is he also going to hit Dragonstar? It doesn't seem like it. Man, this is crazy. 2 archers not only kill the Vills, but they keep Dragonstar safe at home. Because Sebastian will send everything he has to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, those archers will, of course, eventually go down to all of these reinforcements from Sebastian. but of course they've just gotten so much damage done in the meantime. Now, I would say that would have given Dragonstar the opportunity to get himself walled, but obviously he hasn't done that.
Yeah.
So he's still going to need to find a way to prevent Sebastian rather from just walking around and killing him.
Yeah, and he's had to evacuate a lot more than Sebastian has had to, because Sebastian can roll the mule carts around to the different sections of trees. And I think Sebastian's still in a better position, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't been able to fully break Dragonstar yet. The Eco KD's 4-4, and this might head to Castle Age. But if you're not going to wall in Dragonstar's position, I think you have to outpost. You can't be surprised. Oh my goodness, the archers are going to dive, and he gets walled out there.
Oh, a very brave move right there. The gate's pretty low, and of course no armor, and that actually does go down without any canceling action. So, I mean, it's a little bit of stone wasted.
You see what I mean, though? One range from Sebastian. He will never add the second in Feudal Age. He will resist the urge there. That will be farms. And then double range from Dragonstar, just crazy numbers.
Yeah.
I love it.
And of course, Sebastian's very much in that, Hera and Lyri's style of AoE 2, where you just try and get by with the minimum.
Yeah.
And you just rely on your excellent unit control and macro to get these really impossible to deal with timings.
I think a demo would be really beneficial here for Dragonstar, because there's 6 fishing ships working for Sebastian behind this. So that's the difference maker. That and the Armenian eco upgrades has brought Sebastian a lot of resources. Sebastian's got skirms and archers in the middle, chasing down those archers. He's also has walls on the outside. I mean, he's playing really clean right now for Castle Age, so Dragonstar needs something.
Yeah, and the concern I have is that, okay, yes, Dragonstar made things messy early on, but at the end of the day, Sebastian, when the dust settles, Sebastian has fishing ships, and Dragonstar doesn't.
Yeah.
And Sebastian still has water presence, and he's getting the better Castle Age time. So, what is all of that really worth at the end of the day? And right now, it feels like not all that much.
Well, Sebastian's also walled, too. Sebastian won't be surprised by much because he's protected. Now, there's a lot to micro right now. There's the water to micro, where it looks like Dragonstar is pushing back. But there's also the land to micro, which Dragonstar could also push back. He's got more numbers, and I don't think Sebastian is necessarily expecting all the army that Dragonstar has right now.
I mean, it's like, how often do you see double range in Feudal Age these days? It just feels like such an oddity.
Yeah, it is.
and I mean, Dragonstar is just swinging over here with his big blob of archers. However, he has not clicked up to Castle Age yet, and it feels like all Sebastian needs to do is just stall until he can get some Castle Age upgrades, and then suddenly Dragonstar's army becomes completely ineffective.
Yeah, and also switch to skirms, and the switch to skirms is already on the way. We've got 2 ranges producing the skirms as is, and the map is walled. So Sebastian, who's been so good this season, is going to be in Castle Age 2 minutes faster. And he can run with this in so many different ways. Faster to the second TC, maybe faster to the relics. Of course, just getting a lead skirm alone could give him enough of a lead where this could be over.
Yeah, and only 21 seconds idle TC time in a very messy game is very impressive from Sebastian. Hill is still nice for Dragonstar, but again, it's just a matter of time until you can get those upgrades. And it seems like you can do sort of all of those things, right? Get 1 extra TC, get a fortified church down, it'll help protect you on top of it. And yeah, now Sebastian's micro is starting to come online.
Yeah, and just the armor on the skirms. They're not elite skirms, but they do have bodkin now. I hate the fact that I continue to have to try and cling to whatever positive I can for Dragonstar, but that is a fight that could have been worse for him, right? He's still got his own skirms. It's not elite skirm yet. And, it's reasonable, but second TC for Sebastian, wood upgrades flying in, great eco balance, tons of food eco, and still Sebastian hasn't lost water, so so brutal for Dragonstar. Is Dragonstar making a transport ship right now?
You are correct. It's actually being made in the channel between the island and the mainland.
Well, that's what happens when you can't evacuate on evacuation. Look what's sitting on the path.
Yeah. Okay, this is a little bit odd. He can also scooch over his units across the channel there and go after Sebastian's more exposed wood and forage bush eco. But I mean, this is getting to be real Hail Mary land.
Yeah. Well, he just can't pass. And this Fishing is important, but fishing on this map is not the reason you want to win water. This is controlling that crossing, especially when you're up against a civ that doesn't have mule carts. Because Dragonstar is soon going to finish gold and need gold elsewhere. And normally you send the vills across the channel. Wow, this is going to be like two archers and a transport is not something I was expecting to see there.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, you might try and hit the mule cart and the mill over there, but I mean, I guess Dravidians do have a bit better skirmishers, but when you're sort of microing back and forth, the faster fire rate doesn't really matter as much.
Do you think that what are your thoughts on the Armenian eco situation in terms of balance? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Give me your thoughts.
I'm generally fine with Armenians on land maps. If anything, I just don't like how good their navy is at all stages of the game on top of having a sick eco. Like if you play Armenians on Arabia or Arena, or even like some of the more nomad style maps, they feel fine.
Got it. Okay.
What do you think? Do you think it's overpowered?
Well, so mule carts in general feel weird to me. There's only 2 civs that have it, and then there's all these variations to the mule carts. Think about lumber camps, for example. You've got, well, like 44 civs that can make them, and then you have some that have some bonuses there. Celts have the faster wood chopping, Japanese have the cheaper lumber camp, Malians slightly cheaper. So adding so many unique bonuses to mule carts, by the way, the archers are killing vills. Adding so many unique bonuses to mule carts when there's only 2 is weird. So more efficient upgrades on mule cart upgrades when only 2 civs get mule carts is, I guess, the weird thing that bothers me. Does that make sense?
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
I mean, you have 2 civs that have mule carts, and fortified churches are the same in this regard.
Yeah, and then there's unique bonuses that are like crazy for each of them. It feels like that would be more. It would make more sense if there was 10 civs that had those things. You know.
It feels like they kind of did that whole concept with like first with the rise of the Raja civs, right? Because you had the regional unit in the battle elephant, and then all of the civs had their own little battle elephant bonus. But that was 4 civs.
Yeah.
And it feels a bit weirder with only 2 civs, and I think that's probably where the hang-up is.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of bonuses, probably because they could only add 2 civs, so they stacked 4 civs worth of bonuses to mule carts and fortified churches and units. But Skirm Micro continues. I was just curious on that. I agree. Armenians feel really good on any map that has water. Maybe could have some issues on standard land maps, but that could be changed with a tweak or 2. And, oh, man, Dragonstar. I mean, he's hanging in, but his army is just, again, the issue here because his skirms all went down, and now these 2 lonely elephants have to waddle back towards their base.
Very sad elephants right there. I mean, like, you know, again, if we take sort of a pure compositional approach to this, it feels like Dravidians are really, really good against Armenians. You have bombard cannons, elephant archer blobs are tough to deal with, but they're so far behind economically, it just does not matter, and there's the GG.
Sebastian just played it perfect. And again, like back to the wood gold efficiency bonuses. So you have the wood and the gold efficiency that applies in general, right, to your wood and gold mining. But then evacuation is just so good for those mule carts. Like, look at all the different areas where he chopped trees and he was able to just roll around with those mule carts. He used it perfectly. And for Dragonstar, his opening was suited to kill on land, and beyond the 2 archers, he really struggled. I think it's okay to lose water, but you gotta stop those walls from going down, and Sebastian just defended perfectly.
And just Sebastian took all the good fights he needed to, right? It doesn't matter if you have a slightly greater numbers advantage if Sebastian's going to out-micro you anyway.
Yeah, agreed. So Sebastian, he's still second place. That doesn't change anything. He'll want more $40 per victory. But Dragonstar, if he gets swept, he could be out if Margugu sweeps out after this. So that's what's on the line right now.
It keeps things interesting, right? And then I'm all for that.
Yeah, I mean, I love Dragonstar, but let's be real. I think for the entertainment purposes, it would be way better for us if Sebastian sweeps him now, and then Margugu in doubt means a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Here we are, game number 2. So, yeah, Dragonstar thought, I can't play open maps. against this guy, and he correctly picked Dzong. This map incorporates the stone walls. You've also got the shrines that can produce the little priests, which add an interesting aspect to it. But yet again, it's another Dong and another Cumins. Cumins pick for Sebastian. This Civ is usually really OP on these types of maps, but the last couple times I've seen it, the Cumins have actually gone down.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with humans is that they always feel like such a binary civ. It's either they crush you or they get crushed. And it just feels like when you're set up for that 2TC boom, your chances of winning just feel extremely high.
Yeah.
And even Bengalis, like, I don't think there's any civ that can actually match a human boom. Like, if you just try and play a pure eco style, maybe pre-nerf poles could, but that's about it.
I think what has been happening in most of these Cumin games is they go 2TC fast imp, and by the time they make it to imp forward, the opponent has surpassed them in eco. And then they're kind of stuck. They got their trebs, but they don't have a lot of eco to do a whole lot else. There is an approach that we used to see a lot more, where you go 2TCs, and then you flood the map with map control, so scouts, and then you add TC3 and TC4, and then you go for an even bigger boom in Castle Age. And I just wonder if maybe that is worth it in some of these instances. Maybe not in this matchup, but certainly against civilizations that get bombard cannon. Maybe you just don't want to forward castle them and fast imp anymore.
Who did Hera lose to with Cumins?
Beleza.
Yeah, that game, I remember it, and I was like banging my head against the keyboard because it really showed that Hera, despite being the best player in the world, especially on these more closed maps, it doesn't really have the experience.
Yeah.
It feels in these sorts of situations where, to me, it was like, okay, Hera, just go all in on the Trebor and you win the video game.
Well, the thing there
he didn't do that.
he didn't see the castle crazily enough because of a tile or two, and then he decided to switch out of it. And had he seen the castle, I think he makes the trebs. But yeah, sometimes, unless you've done it a bunch, you feel very uncomfortable booming. You feel very uncomfortable going full trebs there. And I think for Hera, he fell into the trap. If you go fast imp, you got to be aggressive. You can't just fast imp into 4 TCs.
Yeah, that's how Villosa was actually able to get the win. In actually this exact same matchup, Villosa was Bengalis, if memory serves.
Yep.
So, yeah, this is going to be interesting because Bengalis themselves do at least have a very strong eco. And if you can make it to late game, if you can get to the big Bengali blob of elephants and halibs and whatnot, then humans are really going to struggle. It's just going to come down to defending against that timing.
Now, does Dragonstar have faith in himself to play the standard type of approach against Sebastian here? Or will he instead think something extreme? Because last time I saw Dragonstar play this map, it was against Doubt. And granted, Doubt was very Doubt that game and went for a tower rush and stuff. But he went crazy all-in aggression. And like, Dragonstar can sometimes be very clear. Again, he's not as clean as other players, but a lot of that can be he's feeling more nerves than other players, right? It's tough to manage that. So if you just need one win and you feel you're a massive underdog, maybe you go to Stone here. Maybe you go forward castle. Like, maybe we see YOLO play.
Yeah, and, you know, I always say that the onus is on the not human player to do something. You have to really sort of completely mold your game plan to the fact that you are up against humans and they are going to be going for a 2TC boom.
Yeah.
And a forward castle drop with everyone's favorite unit, the Ratha, that is certainly one way you can punish the humans player.
Do humans have a good unit to stop the Ratha, by the way?
How? I guess?
Well, I mean, I think you said I guess because it's hard to know because it can be melee and ranged, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And people are actually utilizing that really well now. Kip check is not it, in my opinion.
No.
Kip check is not even close. And then in the Hera game we were referencing, Hera went Cavalier, and the Cavalier had full armors and still died to the melee mode of the Ratha. So
yeah, those needed to be paladins, but Hera was already too far behind at that point.
Yeah. So I think the late game for Bengalis, if they play through Ratha, like Ratha Halb, I think it's really tough for the Cumins to find easy answers there, honestly.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that's just sort of the whole thing with humans, and again, why I think they're so binary is because their late game is so limited compared to most civs that if you aren't hitting Imperial Age with just an absurd advantage, you tend to lose.
Yeah, but I think it's also like I really like the balance of the humans. They're really good at what they do, but they have some very obvious downsides, and they're not always easy to play on a bunch of different maps, right? I really like the balance of them. The balance when they first were introduced, that's a completely different story. But it's a fun civ. It's like you see it on the draft, you're like, oh crap, we're gonna have a crazy one. I think that's really, really good.
It definitely creates some very exciting games, and
Yeah.
it creates these unique situations that players are oftentimes not comfortable in, and that always makes for better viewing.
Yep. And so some players will always ban it. And in my case, for example, I always lose when I play with the humans, but I always lose to the humans. It's just a bad civ for me in general. And then other players are really good at that. So Sebastian, 2 TCs. Small thing here, he actually shifted his sheep to his new TC, which I really like to see sometimes. And he also cut through the wood line and has a priest on the way to get the relic. So you can't put the relics inside of your shrine there, but you can bring the relics to your base and put them there for later.
Yeah, it's just going to be a nice little pickup there for Sebastian. Now, guys, when it comes to I mean, the humans are such a tough civ that there is actually players who are going to do even better with them relative to other top players. But when you see people like Yo and Vivi who play a lot of humans, you can click up to Castle Age at 16 and a half minutes and have no idle time. So that's going to sort of be, I think, where Sebastian's going to want to shoot for.
Who was it recently that went with a couple spears and archers to the middle? I think it was Classic Pro, maybe?
That sounds right.
I think it was Classic Pro. I'm just asking because Sebastian's adding the stable rather early here.
Yeah.
So that's obviously different than what we just mentioned, but he clearly doesn't want to give up map control. And look at Sebastian block there on the scout, and he loses the priest anyways.
Well, it's really hard to keep priests alive and monks alive.
But you do get extra armor on them if you're Bengalis. So Dragonstar, I think he should try and save this scout right now, but
He's against humans.
Yeah, maybe he couldn't get back home at that time because of the speed difference. It felt like maybe he could give it a shot. But I don't like trying to...
It would have been more successful than...
yeah. Like now that it's not like your opponent's scout is weak. Obviously, first off, your opponent's scout being weak doesn't matter if you make monks. And then the second factor is he could just heal it up there. So, not the best for Dragonstar, I suppose.
Yeah, and look at this T90. Is Dragonstar going to go super aggressive castle drop? Nope.
Yep.
He is looking all set up to boom here with the boom gollies. And I remember a long time ago, you and I casted a game on a closed map with Bengalis that went super late.
A long time ago as in yesterday?
A long time ago.
Well, I'm trying to... Because were there other ones?
I'm referencing yesterday.
Okay, I was going to say, now I'm really trying to think back. I mean, that game was ridiculous, dude. That game was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was insane. That was just an insane series yesterday.
So after the game, after the series happened, Tato tweeted a screenshot of ACCM's balance suggestion in the balance Discord, where ACCM said Commerce Scorps are broken. Now, this was on the back of other people saying Commerce Scorps are broken in that Discord, right? But the funny thing is, I saw that message from ACCM 3 or 4 days ago, so I knew it was agreeing that Commerce Corps are broken, but I didn't know at the time why he thought Commerce Corps are broken. Yeah.
What could drive him to that conclusion, I wonder?
Well, speaking of, do humans get heavy Scorp? They do not.
No, humans, they just get the Siege Ram Siege Onager.
You know what could be pretty sick? Is full Halb Siege Ram, though. Halb Siege Ram could be really awkward for the Bengalis.
I mean, you do have fully upgraded Halbs, and you have mostly upgraded Siege Rams, and it's sort of one of those things that humans do at least get semi-decent infantry and semi-decent siege. So if you're not Huns, you can play that slower paced style, and it's not amazing, but it's also not a disaster, and it's there if you need it.
Yeah. Now, something I think it's worth pointing out, Dragonstar did scout some of the relics in the middle, but not all of them. So he won't know that the one on the very right has been picked up already. And good, not just a good job, a great job, excuse me, from Sebastian here to use this shrine, make 2 priests, and pick them up. He should probably have all 5 of those relics back in his base. And Dragonstar is really going to be too late to the party if he wants to deny that.
Yeah, double stables are coming in for him now, but obviously that is going to be a little too late. And that is a forward siege workshop being built in the feudal age here from Sebastian.
Wow. And look where it is. It's not in the middle. It's on the side because he knows that eventually Dragonstar is going to want that gold because that gold's typically safer.
Yeah, and of course he did scout that. He saw both sides of the base. He saw which side the stone was on, which side the gold was on, and just, of course, opted to go for the gold right there. So that's just, actually using scouting. Who would have thought?
No, I think it's because he saw the TC. The gold is nice, but he can actually mangonel push the TC. So that, to me, is maybe the main reason why he did that. And dude, it bothers me so much when sometimes players forget you can make the Siege Workshop in feudal with humans. The fact that he already has that completed and is already making the second one and can go double mangonel push right away is just absolutely sick.
We're talking about, the Chimera, or not Chimera, humans either just go for, the 2TC fast imp or, a big boom and Castle Age play.
Yep.
I guess this is another way you can play the Civ, and it's going to be interesting for sure. Now, of course, Bengalis have fantastic monks. You do have that option to go for a lot of redemption stuff, but you're not there right now, and you could absolutely see Dragonstar get caught off guard.
Well, it's funny now, though, because Sebastian doesn't know that Dragonstar has all these scouts. So committing to lots of siege when your opponent has scouts might not actually be great. And then Dragonstar doesn't know the siege is there or the scouts because he doesn't see them either because all the focus is on the left-hand side. So there's a lot that both players are going to find out here. But third TC for Sebastian, to our point earlier, maybe just the play these days. Just don't go fast imp. Flood the map with army. You have the 5 relics. You want the long-term Castle Age.
Yeah, it's sort of the, instead of trying to immediately go for the kill, just try and get more ahead economically because you still have that option available as humans, and that is, of course, what Sebastian's doing, but it's gonna be 4 mangonels here, and those can eat TCs pretty fast.
Oh, poor Dragonstar. There's nothing, by the way, that should indicate that this is a possibility. Nothing Dragonstar has seen, nothing Dragonstar is prepared for. This is just completely out of the box, and the mangonels just flat in the wood line there. Wow, that's sick.
And again, this is showing that Sebastian is prepped, man.
Yeah.
He is not taking this series for granted, even though it doesn't really matter for him. I mean, I guess, again, this was played before he knew that for sure, but still, it was likely that the series wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Look how fast the TC's going down.
Yeah. Have you not watched any Huang games, man? This is absolutely par for the course.
Well, I mean, it's just, in Dragonstar's position, you're scrambling now to find a response. If he was just 1 mangonel, you have some time and you're good. But, oh man, Dragonstar's not even repairing it. He's completely panicked. He's trying to gather his army together and get bloodlines, but the engagements are going to be really difficult for him. And Sebastian, 5 relics behind this soon, 3 TCs. Wouldn't even surprise me if he drops a 4th. He's the real deal, dude. This player is the real deal. It's not a fluke that he's playing this good this season.
And what impresses me the most about Sebastian these days is, okay, we saw Sebastian 3-4 years ago when he was just a complete Arabia bot archer player every single time. Even then, we knew he had good mechanics. Nowadays, I feel like Sebastian is one of the best players at adapting his playstyle to his opponent and the given civilization. He'll use every civ bonus he can if he thinks it is going to work out in the given situation.
I think the main thing Sebastian needs is to just build up that confidence and have that feeling of, I am completely unbeatable here, which good players get. And oh my God! Oh my God, Sebastian! He's gonna be confident now. Crazy defense and shots. And, I mean, what more can we say, man? It just keeps getting better.
That, You never want to lose a bunch of Light Cav to Mangonels, guys. That is not a good idea. Light Cav are going to try and sneak in over here, but you don't have Knights when you would really want them here as the Bengalis. You've got a Castle coming up defensively for Sebastian. He's grabbing that 4th TC like you were suggesting. And it really feels like there is just no downside to this whole game plan here from Sebastian.
Yeah, and unfortunately, if Dragonstar does clear this, it might already be over. Because it's done so much damage, and he has to invest so much to clear it now, that the lead for Sebastian is going to be insurmountable. It's 4 TCs for Sebastian. Castle going up. Kind of a passive castle, honestly. It could have been more aggressive, but that still secures some golds. And Micro continues, push continues on the left.
You're complaining that the castle could be more aggressive? I thought I wasn't co-hosting anything with John Slow for another few weeks.
Dude, yeah, John Slow's like, why? You have full map control. Why not send 20 vills, send your whole vill lead, and drop a castle on his face?
Yeah, that's I do agree. Like, I understand the appeal of that from Sebastian, especially. Again, you're in a really good spot. Why risk it? But yeah, it's always something to sort of keep in the back of your mind.
Well,
the elephants are here.
I think the beauty of this situation now is your opponent switches to pikes, and now you have safe kip check production to just completely take care of the pikemen. And now you're on the way to Imp. You've got the relics. It says he only has 4 relics.
Yeah, he had the monk holding a relic right next to the monastery.
Okay.
But that generates no income. You have to put it in the monastery so people can't look at the relics, just from the outside. You have to get that ticket price sold.
Oh, man. I feel for Dragonstar here, guys, because how are you supposed to feel like you can get a win with how these games have gone so far? It's just been so dominant. And yes, every game matters, but the first 2 games have to affect your mentality going into the 3rd one.
Yeah, and especially because it's Dzong, right? Sebastian is no real closed map expert. This is where you think you should be able to snag a win, because what's the other map? Acropolis?
Acropolis, yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be really tough for Dragonstar.
And so, if Dragonstar does get swept, Margugu still has a chance to pass Dragonstar on the final day. That will be the series after this, guys. And that'll be, he needs a 3-0 against Doubt, who's already out. So, I don't know what you think about that, Ornlu, but I think Doubt's going to have a lot of fun with the no pressure and being able to affect Margugu's situation.
It's going to be an interesting situation there for sure. Of course, we'll have to see how that one goes next. And that one's live, right? So
Yes.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to say the least, as Imp is about to be in here for for Sebastian, who also is getting capped ram as well. So again, using a little bit of that civ bonus.
Yeah, and now Dragonstar stabilized things. He only lost 9 vills. He's at 110. He's got his boom going to go up to Imp. But now Imp is here for Sebastian. Sebastian already researched capped ram. Sebastian will go through, and he knows it. And Dragonstar taps out. So the theme remains for Sebastian. He has not lost a game to anybody except to Leary, who is already first place in the group. And Sebastian, just a perfect game, dude. Just perfect.
Yeah, I mean, 11% more efficient of an economy for Sebastian is just insane. He had almost a third more resources collected, hit all the timings he needed to, and I mean, yeah, there is very little we can say negative about Sebastian that game.
Look at every TC and the farms around it. Like that's ridiculous. The look at every lumber camp, and it's been completely refreshed and right next to the wood line. Mining camps on neutral resources. I mean, even the tiny things, if you were to try and poke holes in his game, it's not there. Double blacksmith as well, I think. Like, wood upgrade, farm upgrade. He's good. He's really freaking good at Age of Empires, man. And we've got Sebastian looking for that 3-0, which would give us some drama here with Margugu Doubt, after this. And I'm sure they're watching right now because Margugu might play very differently if Dragonstar wins this game.
Yes. That is certainly quite possible, but we are here on Acropolis, or as I would call it, Aquapolis, because we got the water.
Okay. Did you call it Aquapolis in the older versions before there were fish?
No, I would just call it here because the water wasn't as relevant.
But there was water, though.
Yes. I mean, that is literally what the Acropolis was. This
Okay.
was the spring, right?
Thanks for making me look like an idiot. But, okay, I was just curious. Well, so the water is there. And the reason I added this was because Acropolis has been played in tons of tournaments. And the water's always been there, but the water's always been kind of useless. Orlo, I don't know if I told you this. It's kind of funny. So we've got a lot of people watching this tournament. And people will watch and see strats and be like, ooh, I want to try this. And in the first week of TTL, Acropolis was in the ranked pool. And so I don't know if multiple players did this, but one player showed up to my stream and was like kind of mad at me. He was like, bro, I just docked in ranked and there was no fish. So yeah, there's no actual fish in the ladder version of Acropolis. And sorry to anyone who's added fishing ships.
This is where we can say that having a degree of synchronicity between tournaments and the ladder is probably a good thing.
Yeah,
But,
I
that's
would.
a whole nother can of
That's
worms.
a whole nother can of worms. If you don't get the maps to them 4 months in advance, they can't be in ranked.
Yeah.
So, sorry, guys. I do think it'd be so sick, though, man. Like, evacuation for the average player, oh, it'd be crazy fun. Fortified clearing, crazy fun. Also, and we got to talk about the matchup then, but the fact that Regicide isn't on Fortress is so sad.
Oh.
Imagine, like, mid-elo, low-elo, 3v3, 4v4, Regicide Fortress. The amount of fun that could happen.
I mean, not even just like lower midi-low, anybody.
Yeah.
Like Regicide Fortress is just fun for everybody.
Yeah.
Like
sure, maybe 90% of the pro games still end up with someone resigning before a king gets sniped. But in a ranked game, people will actually try some crazy stuff. I remember casting games from 2005 where Regicide Fortress lobbies were hosted, and there were king snipes and all types of comebacks. So maybe someday. It was just simply too much work for me to be able to get these maps to the devs to get into ranked, sadly.
It's very tough. I don't blame you for struggling with that at all.
So, Doc's in the middle. I like the Lithuanians in general on this map. I think what I don't love is being up against Chinese. But there's nothing Dragonstar can do about that now because he drafted heavily towards the first two maps. So he picked Dravidians first, for example, which he already lost with. I think he then picked the civ he played with previously second. So this was never the map that Dragonstar was expecting to get a win. But what's your game plan here if you're the Lithuanians? Obviously, they're docking now, but what do you think Dragonstar needs to focus on?
Well, what I'm a little confused about is that Sebastian is faster with his fishing as Chinese than Lithuanians. It feels like that should be the other way around, right? Because you can send the bills to wood early because you have that extra little bit of food banked up. And that's where you can sort of... I mean, you're not going to get ahead of Chinese early economically, but you're at least closer.
Well, this actually answers your question, though, because in order to do what you did, you have the later feudal time, probably. And I think Classic Pro and then another name I can't remember went for these fast builds where you make your fishing ships while you're on the way to feudal. So you can essentially win the water. So I think that's what he's trying. Having said that, though, Sebastian's build is crazy fast as well, though.
Yeah, that's really solid. I mean, 36 seconds idle time as Chinese isn't, like, perfect, but it's still pretty solid, especially if you have those fishing ships. You're, 10 seconds slower, which doesn't actually matter all that much here, even with the docks right next to each other.
Yeah.
As well, you can just sail your fishing ships around just a little bit.
Yeah, so mining camp comes up. I point that out because sometimes people will not do that. Sometimes they'll just walk to the gold. And if you're building the mining camp, normally on land, you're also opening archers because you've committed vills to gold long term. At least that's been the theme so far.
Yeah, that's usually what we see for sure. But third fishing ship actually committed here for Dragonstar. And I know we've seen this map before when we've been casting this tournament, and it seems like players either under or over commit to the water. So are we going to see more than 2 ships? Because that really feels like the sweet spot.
Yeah, the max I'm happy with is 3. At that point, I think is when players should start to switch, add the barracks, add the range. Barracks is coming up for both right now. Barracks is slightly later for Dragonstar, but he also doesn't have as many vills, though he's only 1 vill behind. So maybe the idle time for Sebastian's a bit higher than we've seen in some other games.
Yes. Yeah, so, I mean, still, the timings are very similar, and I think it's going to be a matter of... Okay, yeah, 5 vills and gold definitely feels like archers for both, but this is just Chinese, right? They're just faster at doing everything because you have more resources.
So, hear me out. What if, you wait to pop out with your fire ships every single time on water here? Because you're only going to make 2, and it feels like whoever hops out second gets the damage on the fire because the other fire's on the fish. Am I onto something there, or are there other aspects I'm forgetting?
As far as I know, it's probably just the repairs, right?
Yeah, that's repairs.
You send the fire ships out
key.
early, you can do some repairs, but I mean, yeah, I think it makes sense to just wait till 2 fire ships are out.
It's just so funny, dude. Like, again, I expected a couple people to dock, but what this has turned into, fighting over these shorefish, is just so wild to me. And so there they go. And Sebastian is laming every single sheep he can find. He just killed 500 food underneath Dragonstar's TC. And Dragonstar was so focused, he didn't even see it.
I mean, this is just Sebastian absolutely on point. And poor Dragonstar is feeling the wrath of Sebastian in this series.
He's going to look back at his eco and be like, wait, what? Why are my vills idle? This doesn't make any sense. Big demo there from Dragonstar. And sure, he may win water, but he's not exactly going to have a clean transition with food eco now. And Sebastian will have that. Sebastian's still the Chinese. Sebastian's also got archers already. And I'm waiting to feel confident for Dragonstar when I see a reason to. Right now, this feels like Sebastian's in the better spot all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we can try and find like these little ways in which Dragonstar can potentially make a comeback, but all of these, like any way that Dragonstar gets back into this game is predicated on Sebastian not doing something basically perfectly.
Yep.
And I have seen no evidence that Sebastian is making any mistakes in this series so far.
Yeah, it is not, guys, it is not a player's job to make the game interesting for you, the viewer. It is the player's job to win. And Sebastian has done pretty much nothing but win the entire season. His archers are headed to the wood line. I think Dragonstar does have a sense for this now. So that's actually really good, but there is a gap there. And the archers walk right through it. And the fletching upgrade is in. And Dragonstar is going to be chasing here.
Oh, this is potentially going to be very sad. You do have the archers coming in from the back, but again, you still need to out-micro your opponent to make this work, and, well, ow.
Yeah, he loses the Vill, the scout, and its dying breath killed the Vill. Sebastian kills with the archers there. There is still the water control for Dragonstar, so he has the 3 fishing ships, but double range for Sebastian. So earlier in the day, we talked about how Sebastian will never go for 2 ranges. But here he feels it's worth it. And I like that because there's a lot of exposed villagers on this map. And it's really difficult to full wall. And he's clearly very confident with his micro right now.
Yeah, and this is what I was saying earlier, where I just love how adaptable Sebastian is. It's not like he's not going to do something because that isn't the meta or it's not like his preferred playstyle.
Yes.
He sees an opportunity here to go for the 2 ranges, and I think that we both agree that there's plenty of opportunity to get damage done, and he is just going to go for it without hesitation, and 100%. I absolutely love to see that. And
then in Dragonstar's case, like, you never know what your opponent's going to do. Like, you think he's going to macro his way on 1 range to Castle Age, and then it's 2 ranges. And then you think, okay, I might as well go full skirms against that. And then it wouldn't surprise me at all if he mixes in a stable to go for scouts as well. Dragonstar needs a win to be completely safe. Otherwise, he will be a spectator with everybody else in the next series. And Margugu could potentially relegate him. But
that would be tough because Dragonstar got his 2 wins relatively early on, if I remember the ordering of stuff.
Yeah, he played Doubt and he played Margugu early, and he played Yo as well. And then his last 2 sets were Leary and Sebastian, so it always felt like it was going to be tough for him here.
Yeah, and then it would really be unfortunate just to go 0-6 there at the end, but that's what you got to do if you don't want to get relegated. And now Dragonstar has a lot of gold banked up, no vills on that resource anymore, and the eco difference is already getting out of hand in favor of Sebastian, even without water. And this is just so tough here for our red player.
Yep. Now, what you can do in Dragonstar's position is you can lock down one area of your eco and then maybe tower the next. I think towering the forward wood line feels like the most obvious choice. He's kind of waiting right now. He doesn't have an army that can really easily advance out across the field. You move forward with skirms at this stage, and you might just run into scouts. But, yeah, maybe Town Watch could be helpful here so he could have more vision around the map if any sneaky archers come in. Sebastian's just chilling as well, and this benefits Sebastian with the Chinese. Only lost those 2 fishing ships. And his eco's good enough to click up to Castle Age, and there he goes.
Yeah, and this is just the power of Chinese these days, and it just seems like with how standardized maps are and just how good players are and how low lag is, that you just get this so consistently where, I mean, the top players it just feels unfair when they have Chinese in so many situations.
Well, I said it in the previous series. Chinese are #1 pick, or they are a must ban, or they are a must... or they're must ban in the draft. It has to be that. And Sebastian, this was his #1 pick. Dragonstar said, okay, I'm never going to win every game against Sebastian, so we'll give that up to get the other picks. And obviously it's looking rough now. But on the topic of balance with the Chinese, they made changes when Chinese were already insane in tournaments to make them even stronger. One was indirectly, which was the auto drop-off hotkey, which is a very nice addition to the game, in my opinion. But the other one was the pop space for the TCs, right? So you didn't have to build the house right away. And even though I didn't actually have any details or inklings that they were going to do or tease the Chinese DLC, I felt in that moment it doesn't make any sense to buff the Civ further unless there's a reason. And then with all the discussions, seems like there is going to be a DLC that splits up the Chinese that, basically fixes the problem in some ways, you would assume.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to split up Chinese because the civs that are likely added are more about the Chinese periphery. So I think what we're going to see is less of a Hindustanis thing and more of a Persians rework thing.
So you don't think it's going to be, you don't think it won't be Chinese? You think it'll be...
I think the Chinese are going to stay Chinese.
Ah, okay, interesting. I haven't heard anyone else theorize that.
Yeah, because the civs they're adding are Tonguts and Jurchens based off of the castles and the flags and whatnot.
Okay.
Which were Chinese, civilizationally, they were similar to the Chinese, but they were their own unique, distinct peoples, which is why they get to have their own civs.
So they won't be Chinese. Okay, got it. Well, then I wonder if they take bonuses from Chinese and spread it around, or how exactly they manage it, because at least as a tournament host and a competitive player, I do feel like Chinese as is needs a tweak somewhat.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, that's also just, you could say that about every Civ Sebastian's touched today because he's just dominating.
Sebastian picks Bulgarians next. Wait, come on, Sebastian. Why are we playing this OP Bulgarians?
Bulgarians are so OP, bro.
Just has 5 Krepos in his opponent's face.
Yeah. Well, the right now, I have to give credit to Dragonstar because the eco count's even. And he does actually have a counterattack coming for once. He hadn't moved out most of this game. He had to wait till Castle Age for it. So here he goes. He has the tower on his wood line. That's still awkward. Sebastian needs to defend from this. If Dragonstar can snowball something here, we are going to have a very disappointed Frenchman playing the 3rd series. But I think Sebastian maybe has just enough. His knights are lacking armor. He still has the crossbows on the front, and the crossbows killed Vils.
Yes, they are doing that, but the lack of any upgrades on the knights there was a little bit painful. The quick walls are coming in, though, and it seems like Sebastian's probably fine. The archers are coming back home, though, so this is at least going to buy Dragonstar a bit more time, and he's going to be able to pick up the ballistics upgrade ahead of his opponent.
Yeah, exactly. This in theory, should give Dragonstar some moments to sort out his own eco, but you can tell, you look at his starting TC, and there's some lumber camps that are needed. It's not exactly the cleanest situation for his wood eco, but he wants an extreme And for that, it was full armor, full attack, and ballistics now for the ranged units.
Yeah, and that's not bad. And credit to Dragonstar, he's not rolling over and dying, even though his situation has been pretty grim. Sebastian is getting ballistics himself. He has a huge lead, of course. But there is at least maybe a bit of an opportunity to make something happen here for Dragonstar.
Yeah, this is good value. I mean, he's getting a lot of pickoffs here on the crossbowman. Very good micro from Dragonstar. The knight isn't even in the battle right now for Sebastian. Sebastian will win the fight anyways. But at least he took a valuable engagement in a situation where he might not have gotten anything at all. But 19 army versus 5. And Dragonstar needs more.
Yeah, so imagine if behind this, Dragonstar had that second TC down. It felt like, okay, you go in, you drag your opponent's army back home, and then behind it, you can add a second TC to secure some more resources, especially wood, more safely. But Dragonstar, just not having any stone, it just wasn't able to do that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, when you're the underdog, I speak as someone who got 3-0 a lot the last 2 years. When you're the underdog, you don't think you can boom and stabilize, especially against Chinese. So you're like, any investment into booming when I'm already behind there or if I'm already the worst player just isn't logical. I agree with you, though. In a matchup where the players are similar, I think the second TC would be going up now. Still hasn't happened for Dragonstar. I just want to explain the reasoning behind it.
No, and you're totally right, but unfortunately, I think, you see enough of tournaments that, you just need to have that winning mentality, right? You need to make those plays that just have some degree of confidence, and that's what we're saying maybe Sebastian was lacking a little bit against the very best players, but I mean, it's true at every level here.
Yeah, I think, but on that, it's also how much can a player manage? And Sebastian is way faster, so I think in Dragonstar's mind, he's like, I have to stay 1 TC to be able to micro well enough to compete here, and he got some kills, but there's second TC and now third TC for Sebastian, and Dragonstar still just kind of chasing with skirms, where he could get a valuable engagement now, but he does need to break Sebastian in a bigger way.
Oh, now we're going to rush up a market with 5 villagers, maybe just to buy some stone or something, and chances are you're not going to win a game with pure skirmishers. That, unless you're Doubt or MBL. Other than that...
I think if the skirms would have denied the third TC at the bottom, and this is actually a map where you could pick your opponent apart pretty nicely with the skirms, but Sebastian just has so much time to think and to move around, and the clock is ticking now for the doctor. Dr. Dragonstar, excuse me.
I like how that's become a thing for no real reason.
Yeah, those are always the best memes, is the memes that don't really
There's
have...
like no logic to it. They're not even very funny, but somehow they just said enough and they become funny.
Yeah, that's how a lot of it starts. And again, Dragonstar trying a counterattack, takes a decent fight, but loses more vills, will also lose his fishing ships here. And now 15 villager lead for Sebastian. And great eco upgrades as well, by the way. He's got wheelbarrow, bow saw. Horse collar alone is crazy with the Chinese, which he got a long time ago. And somewhere, Margugu and Doubt are getting warmed up. And Margugu will know that he can still survive if Sebastian finishes this off. All he needs is 3 straight wins against the Lord.
And it's a Doubt who is either going to be goofing around and not trying super hard because he's guaranteed to be relegated.
Yep.
Or he's going to go super try hard because he's friends with Margugu and wants to, drag him down with him.
I just can't, the amount of crap that Margugu and Doubt talk to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
In person, before you even discuss online, is so extreme. Like, every time we're all in person together, Margugu is talking about T90 in 3 years, who's better, me or Doubt? Like, he just keeps talking like Doubt is going to eventually just be way worse than him. And then they're in the same group, and then Margugu's been constantly talking about how he's going to relegate Doubt. Like, we are going to see a very motivated Doubt in the next series. I think
the chances of that are pretty high. So
yeah,
that'll be very interesting here, as this game is still likely just going to be wrapping up in favor of Sebastian. He's developing his knight counterparts to his skirmishers, and that's just going to be giving him that punching power he lacked before, just to really get in there and wreck Dragonstar, who is going Cav Archers because it makes me sad.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cav Archers does feel kind of natural here. You want to keep up with the Knights. You have decent upgrades, but the Knights are an issue. And Sebastian can find so many different areas to do damage. He can pull back his own skirms, send the Knights in front, and I think we're going to have Dragonstar doing an awful lot of chasing here.
Yep, that it's going to feel pretty rough. The thing with just going Cav Archers here is your opponent has already shown great upgrades on skirmishers.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take a lot of Cav Archers before you can really start to take good engagements. And when you don't have the eco, it's a really tough... It's just a tough situation no matter what. I would say maybe just try and go for the most broken unit you can and hope for the best, which would probably be the latest, and just try and pick up relics. But even then, I mean, you're really reaching no matter what you're doing.
It felt like when Dragonstar rushed Ballistics with full armor and attack, that was the moment for him where he felt like he needed the damage then to get the lead. And ever since he didn't find it, Sebastian is just he was always gonna skyrocket ahead. Even without the Knight switch, he could have done so much here. 91 Vils versus 66. And Sebastian is, what, 6,000 more resources collected at this point? It's just insane.
Yeah, and, again, he's just not making any mistakes. He's playing with the lead. He's playing safe. He's making his important army developments. He's microing the skirms very well.
He's outposting everywhere, too. Like,
yeah.
he will not be surprised by anything with these outposts. He's probably also going to snag the relics. It's just, he's played a perfect series.
And I really think that I would favor Sebastian right now over Viper, if indeed that's how things shape up in Group D. Because this is... Yeah, there's my hot take of the day.
Well,
because I think Sebastian's super motivated and Viper isn't.
Well, let me just say this on that. Sebastian has been the better player in TTL Season 4. 100%. So from what we've seen, if it is Sebastian Viper, which is yet to be determined, we'll know in a day. I can't disagree with you. And Sebastian could have easily been first in this had he won 2-1 over Leary. Instead, he lost 2-1. Those two were the kings of this group. And Sebastian confirmed second place. Can't wait to see him in the playoffs. So, one more series in the group. That will come soon. It will be Doubt Margugu, with Doubt already out. And Margugu hoping to save himself from the relegation. Ornlu should be a pretty crazy one.
It will be fun, if nothing else.
Yeah, but Dragonstar is going to be sweating watching the series. So thanks Ornlu for joining very much, dude. I will reach out again for more casts.
Yeah, it's always fun, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, bro. See you.
See ya.
All right, chat. So like I said, next series is Doubt against Margugu. And Doubt will look to spoil Margugu's chances at survival. Let me pull up the bracket real quick and see a situation. Let me see. Also, we were supposed to start at 19 GMT today. What time is it right now? 19 GMT is in 15 minutes? Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, Arbase, that's not even an issue, dude. Shout out to Ornlu. Check out his channel. Say hello. If you enjoyed the cast with Ornlu, make sure you let him know. I'm sure that'll mean a lot. Yeah, 15 minutes is perfect. I can get some coffee. We can take a quick break. I can thank some subs. I was worried we'd have to wait an hour and 15 minutes. Okay, so, chat, let me show you. Before the quick break. With the results so far today in Group A, we've got that one more set. This spoils what happens earlier, but Leary ends up winning 2-1 over Yo, confirming he's in first place. He won 13-2. We had Sebastian, obviously 3-0ing there. Sebastian looked insane. Sebastian went 12-3. Wait, who did Sebastian lose games to? He lost 2 games to Leary. Did I miss one? He might have lost a game against Yo. That might have been... No, he 3-0'd Yo. Who did he... Oh, he lost a game against Margugu. That's what it was. So it's 100%, 100%, 100%. The top 3, we know the playoff positions, right? Dragonstar's got 87% chances to stay alive in Platinum for the next season. But if Margugu 3-0s, he will overtake Dragonstar. Now, Margugu cannot do it with 2-1 because Dragonstar is ahead of him in the tiebreak. So if it's 2-1 for Margugu, Dragonstar still survives, even though they're tied. Margugu needs a 3-0 victory. That would do it. He'd stay platinum. Dragonstar and Doubt would go down. So should be a lot of trash talk, dude. I'm really pumped for this series.